Hello and welcome to another video. So we're playing Elena Tenko hybrid deck today. This is one that I've been quite favourable of, I guess. Normally I would prefer the straight Tenko builds for unlimited, but in Elena Tenko deck it's just a little bit more fun for me to play. Gives me a few more options in playstyles and just lets me beat things down a little differently. So I thought why not give one a go, as we cover a lot of Tenko decks, especially for rotation, but not a lot for the Elena style decks. So why not have a hybrid and just kind of meet in the middle there and cover something for unlimited for you guys. So we're going to cover this one and take a look now. So our first matchup here is one hell of a matchup against Sword. Like, Sword is just one of those things that, well, you can expect a couple of variants. Some of them can just be crazy. Leonidas Sword, for example, is one that usually I don't expect to come up against. So we're starting off with a pretty average hand, not really what I want. I usually try and aim for a little bit better hand than this. Unfortunately, we just didn't have that luck, but the draws from the top did fix it up a bit. I mean, going into double Pegasus into Tenko is actually not a bad play, so that really did help us out. If we hadn't have got that, it would have been a lot worse, as we probably would have lacked a 4-drop play, and we probably would have also lacked our Tenko play. I also did get the Elena's Prayer, but considering they're instantly dropping this 2-3, I don't really have a choice but to go heavy on the Pegasus Sculpture, as I really can't afford to play Elena, not play much on 4i, and then play Tenko and just play no followers like every turn would be so bad. At least this way I can heal up using the 2 Pegasus Sculptures and potentially get more kills. Luckily we did end up drawing a Unicorn, which is great. Unic is going to really help us out. So we're going to be able to take advantage of this pretty fully. It does also give them a guaranteed target that they're going to have to hit here, which is kind of exactly what we want. Forcing them to kill this Unica is ideal, especially since now we can pretty much play Tenko for free here. Although it is only on 1 Pegasus Sculpture, I will still accept that as a reasonable play. I also not sure what these guys are playing, as I would think it's a discard sword similar to my last video, but the double staircase is just kind of a little bit of a throw off here. Just like when I was looking at it initially, it was hard to decide. Of course, I know the deck now is Leonidas because obviously this is a replay of the match, but prior to watching this, it was pretty crazy to try and work out what they were playing, especially in Unlimited. So we're actually pretty safe. We're going to wipe out, you know, 3/4 of this board pretty quickly and still stick a nice ward down. You do tend to want to hold 1 Evo for Aegis, and considering we've already got 1 Tenko down, that shouldn't be too impossible. We will need to just pump the board, though, with a decent heal. The only disappointing part about this match is I never really got a chance to just drop an Elena down. I would have loved to have dropped one freely, but unfortunately that just didn't work in my favour. The 4/6 Lion is definitely not something I like fighting. We are 1 turn off our Aegis play, but preferably I would like to just kill this now. So we are going to get triple heals, which is enough to wipe this board. That's why we didn't really need to do much. Tenko really is an extremely strong deck, both in rotation and unlimited. People complained until it was nerfed, which definitely balanced it out a lot more. It was quite overbearing before, now it's not so bad. As Tenko at 5 really, while it helps the curve in some ways, it definitely negates the curve in others. So we finally get a chance to drop our Heavenly Aegis, which basically makes it an unkillable tank at this point. So we're going to be able to ram the Leonidas, which isn't entirely in our favour, as it does give them the Leonidas' Resolve Amulet, which is not great. But we did get to clear the follower anyway. So now really it's just a matter of survival, because they are just going to be throwing big rush followers down. So it's not a huge shock to see them do this. I probably should have tried to come up with some way to just go face faster, but considering the Leonidas Resolve kept pumping out big followers like this, I really didn't have a choice but to just purely hold back. I probably could have attacked here and had a decent chance if I went face twice and won the game, but I just felt if I missed this ping, which I ended up luckily hitting now anyway, I would have been in some trouble. But if I had have realised that I was basically going to wipe most of this board, I probably would have went face. Definitely was a tough decision. I went with the one that I felt was a safer option, but probably not the one that could have led to the fastest victory, so definitely was a tough choice to make. So double Melissa, definitely not good for me. I mean, that gives them way too much value. We need to be able to pretty much wipe these off the face of the earth. So double Tenko it is, giving us a reasonable amount of damage. Unfortunately, one of them hit the wrong target, but we should still be able to do some decent damage. And it did leave the single Melissa, which will probably be used to take out these Tenkos or something. I'm not really sure how they'll go with this. I mean, Lancer of Tempest, that's another good way to do it. So they can actually keep their Melissa and go face. But they will pretty much lose everything here, I think. It'll be very close, especially with this White Fang. Actually, they will lose everything because that will be a 6 damage burst. So we have been doing a lot of board control. Unfortunately, we are now pretty locked. We're going to have a couple of heals, so we've got a decent amount of damage, but this Albert really hurts us. We're going to be taking an astronomical amount of damage from this. Leaving us with just 2 health and 3 heal really does not feel safe. If they have another Albert, it is game over. If they have any decent Storm card, again, game over. So at this point, we're just playing the luck of the draw and hoping that they don't have what they need. Fortunately, a Leonidas Resolve is not what they need right now. Neither is Killian, so both cards that I should be able to handle reasonably well. Fortunately, I didn't get the hit on the Krillin because that would have been perfect. Then I could have just went face. So definitely not the luckiest play in the world. But one that I just had to accept, unfortunately. So at this point, I just built the biggest board possible, hoping that they wouldn't be able to do anything. Luckily, without a Storm Follower, it looks like I ended up winning the match. So the last match was mainly just a big showcase on how much defensive power Haven can have. You did require a bit of luck, of course, because I did come very, very close to being killed by the sword player. All they would have needed was one decent Storm card, which fortunately they just didn't have. But we did manage to put enough pressure down to wipe many big followers repeatedly, so that definitely helped us out. And we ended up scooping up the win, so, I mean, you can't go wrong in a win-like situation like that. Of course, Rune is another one that is tricky because they do put down quite big followers and they can do things like D-shift, which will make the match much harder. I do go for the early Holy Bowman just because I want something on board. Unfortunately, the Wind Blast is there just to pick us off. At least I can go for the White Fang Temple, so I suppose that's okay. Although I would like a Tenko or something really to play out here, as I don't really have many options. It's looking to be more of a just go for whatever I can choice here, which I don't like much. I mean, we can go for the double White Fang Temple. This is going to get us some pretty quick 6/6s. And the healing means that we're not going to take too much early burn damage from Rune. But they are just going to play their own game of Solitaire. Well, I can go for a little bit of damage thanks to the Holy Bowman now, so we are going to get just a little bit, along with just pumping the Moon and Sun to the board as an extra potential threat. So there is a nice 4 damage. When they end their turn, we're also going to get a 6/6.
You're done for.
Looks like the Holy Bowman probably isn't going to survive this. And Chimera is going to pick off our Moon and Sun. Poor Amaterasu, just not getting anything done here today. So we need to come up with some way to deal with this board effectively. Unfortunately, I couldn't come up with anything off the top of my head, so Gem Princess it is, just as a full-on defensive play, and to get its effect to go off repeatedly will save us a fair bit of damage in the long run. Especially since they are going to have to waste quite a bit here to remove basically a lot of damage. I mean, that's quite comfortably 18 damage on board, along with the fact that we also have quite a large health pool, which Rune doesn't typically deal easily with, not unless they have the exact right cards, which it looks like our opponent does have a fairly decent hand to play off. But is it going to be quite enough? I mean, they haven't got many cards left. They're banking on one being a giant Chimera or something, I reckon, so definitely not looking too positive for them, especially since we are going basically to max health here. I did leave up the 4/4 because it is only turn 7. I felt comfortable to make that decision. Mainly just so I can hold on to the Evo for the potential Aegis that I may need. And at this point I'm kind of glad I did hold off. Although we are going to take some little extra damage here. So they're definitely going to go and kill this 6/6, obviously not having a second D shift to play instantly, mainly looking for their own board control, which is definitely good for me, not so good for them. Once we clear this board out though, our only real threat is going to be Giant Chimera. So all we really need to do is heal up enough. Unfortunately, I made the wrong decision here. If I had have went for the Happy Pig, I could have actually wiped their entire board and had no risk of being dead next turn, or very little risk of being dead next turn. As I would have been able to Happy Pig, clear one, and then deal a phase effect to clear another. Instead of going for the Moon and Sun play, I also would have healed up by 3 instead of 1, which would have been much more beneficial. So just something to keep in mind. I made a slip of the play and accidentally played the Amaterasu before thinking it all the way through. Luckily for me, doesn't look like it's going to have too big an impact, because if they didn't have a Giant Chimera to kill me that turn, the odds of them killing me next turn are also quite low. So it's definitely a positive thing for me that they didn't have the Giant Chimera. So it does require a bit of luck sometimes. I mean, this is a card game. Luck plays a huge factor. We can always expect the worst, but that doesn't mean it will always happen. And this is going to be a pretty easy wipeout now, as our double Tenkos are going to be pretty devastating. So opponent does go for the concede. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. This deck is a lot of fun to play. While it wasn't super consistent, I did have a few really tough matches, mostly the aggro matches, where I was just drawing top end and not low end stuff that I really needed, or I was drawing Elena Prayers when I really needed to draw Tenkos, or something like that that was making the deck a little awkward. It definitely had its spots, and it definitely done a nice job in long-term control matchups, so I really enjoyed playing that. If you guys do want to check this deck out, the link will be in the description below. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more content, and I'll catch you guys next time. See ya.